Hey everyone, this is Kevin
And Jess.
and we are really excited to be taking some time now to talk about case solving, our case solving community, digital detectives, people searching. A rose by any other name smells as sweet. Like, it's all the same thing, which is basically we do outreach, we record messages, we have referrals from partners. Then what happens? And our answer to that is having a community of committed and trained volunteers, which you are now part of or going to be part of, to locate loved ones, deliver messages, and help people experiencing homelessness reconnect to their families. Your digital detectives for good. Way back when, the very first Miracle Messages reunion, none of this was in place. We used this online platform called Facebook, where we basically took the message, which was only a video at the time, and posted it on a Facebook group connected to the person's hometown. Now, I'll pause there and say this was not the best way to protect the privacy of an individual, the sensitive case, making sure you're reaching the loved ones, but really just reaching them. There's a lot of reasons why that did not become standard practice. We still sometimes will use Facebook and other people directories to locate individuals and send messages, but we don't, as a best practice anymore, blast something across the internet in the hopes that we reach the right person. Instead, we developed what was previously called the Cold Case Committee, where it was working on hard to solve cases in collaboration. Because let's face it, doing this work behind the computer, making phone calls, getting rejections, because it's not an easy thing, it can be isolating and lonely and really, really frustrating. And having a community of people who can just not only talk through best practices, but just encourage that you're doing the right thing, you're in the right direction, or maybe, have you thought about this? Have you tried this people directory? That's really what emerged from just focused on hard to solve cases that were almost abandoned to becoming the best practice across all cases. And that's the case solving community today that meets once a week in the evenings for about an hour Pacific time to do collaborative digital detective work.
And the case solving community and all of the volunteers who are part of the case solving community are doing something really unique in the volunteering space. Because oftentimes when you're volunteering, you're doing something that needs to be done, but you're not directly having an impact. You're not directly, determining the outcome for a person who's going to be the beneficiary of your work. And that's different at Miracle Messages with the case solving community, because each individual volunteer who takes on a case is actually going to work on that case and hopefully be able to do the best possible work towards a reconnection for that individual. And that's so incredible. It's so powerful to be able to actually help someone transform their life, to rebuild a relationship. And that's what people love about doing case solving, is that you, because of the fact that you have a computer, and because you're willing to put in the time and make a few calls, you can change the direction of a person's life. The flip side of that is that you really are taking direct responsibility for something that really matters to someone. And for that reason, we've really tried to set up a series of best practices so that every case gets a really good faith attempt towards a reconnection, and so that every volunteer feels like they have done right by the person that they're trying to help. Case solving, what does it look like? So when we encounter someone on the streets or in a shelter at a partner site, and they say, I want to reconnect with a loved one, we do our best to take down all the necessary information so that we can do a digital search and try to find that loved one and help that person reconnect. And once we've collected that information, it goes into our case database. And that's where case solving starts, is with our case database, with each individual case that we take that is has sort of a packet of information about the unhoused person, the loved one they're trying to find, the context that we have about the disconnection, the message that they'd like to send, and how we're going to get a hold of them again. So if you're the person who's receiving that file, that case to solve, it's your job to look at all that information and try to navigate it so that you can get a hold of that loved one, give them the chance to hear the message, and give them the opportunity to reconnect if that's what they choose to do. So just a note on that opportunity. We know when we have a conversation with somebody who says they want to reconnect that we are hearing one side of a complicated story. And we take that person at their word that everything that they're telling us is true for them. And we also take it very seriously that we need to get opt-in from the other side before we move forward. So we use what we call a double opt-in process for case solving, meaning that a person who says, I want to reconnect with a loved one and starts a Miracle Messages case is opting into reconnecting. And when the loved one says, yes, I also want to hear from that person, I want to reconnect with that person, that's the double opt-in. And we really operate that with that in mind at all times, that no matter how much we want two people to reconnect, both parties need to opt in for this to work and for it to be successful. So, practically speaking, what does that mean? So let's say that I am working on a case that I just took, and the unhoused person is named Joseph Brown, and he's 32 years old. He lives in San Francisco. He's been unhoused for 3 years, and he wants to reconnect with his mom, Susan Brown, who's in Des Moines, who is 65 years old, and who he lost touch with because he lost his phone. So that's a very basic overview of a case. And there are a couple things that I didn't say that I want to highlight. So first of all, I just shared a few details, but I didn't look for how to reach Joseph again. And that's a problem because one of the first things that you should look for is how you're going to reach our unhoused individual again to relay information. Because what happens if you actually get through to his mom and his mom says, oh my God, I've been looking for him for years, please put him on the phone right now, and then you don't know how to get a hold of him. That's when you as a volunteer become heartbroken, and we don't want you to experience heartbreak. So always, always, always look for the how to reach again section of the case. And if you don't see it, touch base with the person who submitted the case or with someone at Miracle Messages to figure out how to proceed. One strategy that I actually really love is if the person has a phone number or a way that you can reach them, you can actually touch base with that person, reach out and say, hey, I'm a volunteer with Miracle Messages. I saw that you asked for help reconnecting with your mom. Is there anything I should know before I start working on this case? And the reason why that's so great is because, number one, it puts a face to Miracle Messages so that they know that it's not just some kind of machine working to reconnect. It's actually a person working on their behalf. Number two, because you've made at least one contact, so you know how to relay information. And number three, because it's really hard to get all the context from a case file, and the best way to get that additional context is by having a direct conversation with the person whose case you're taking. So how to reach again, really crucial. Definitely look at it. If there's a number there or an easy way to get in contact, just try to get in touch with the person and see if you can make that connection. So besides that, I listed out a few pieces of information that are going to be essential to your work at trying to solve this case. So first, I told you the mom, her name, her age, and her last known location. And those are really your first kind of pieces of information that you use for your digital search. And you can start off as if you were looking for an old friend from high school. There's not a protocol for exactly how to start the search, but with that same kind of curiosity, oh, I wonder where that person is. Here's what I have to go on, and here's how I use the internet, and here's how I might search if I was looking for my old friend. And hey, this popped up, or maybe nothing popped up, and you're like, oh, that's weird, I can't find this person. And that first pass of case solving, searching, will tell you a lot. It'll tell you whether this is a person who has a common name, in which case you might need to search for more information. It'll tell you whether this person has an online presence or not. That will direct your search also. And my recommendation is not to kill yourself trying to find the exact right person in this initial search. Because the thing that really, really burns volunteers out is searching for hours and hours and hours to try to pinpoint the exact person, deciding they're finally going to make the phone call that's going to change the person's life. Oh, wrong number, or number's been disconnected. Because where do you go from there? You've already put in all this work. So the better strategy is actually to be a little bit more broad with your search. If you see something that looks promising, copy down the number or the email address, or keep a note of the URL so that you can go back to it, accumulate a couple of different possibilities, and then actually start making calls. As much as we love our digital detectives who just love to search for people, it actually is really difficult to find out if we have found the right loved one unless we try to contact them. A lot of the information that we find online when we actually try it doesn't work or is outdated. And so if you want to be effective at solving Miracle Messages cases, you have to be willing to make that phone call and see if you've got the right person. And if you're starting to get butterflies in your stomach because you're thinking about cold calling a stranger, we're going to get to that in just a second, because it is both the thing that causes a lot of people a lot of anxiety, and it's also the thing that transforms lives. So we all get nervous about it, but it's the thing that moves these cases forward and that makes reconnections happen. So scenario one, you search for the loved one and you find nothing. What do? Okay, so you could get really creative. You could try different searches, and we actually have a number of search databases, including some that we have subscriptions to that you can try, and that'll give you a really as good as the internet can give you. But we also have a community, and Miracle Messages is pretty novel. There aren't a lot of people doing this, and the people in our community are best in the world at searching for loved ones online. And so, that's your number one resource. The internet, of course, that's where you're going to find loved ones, but where you're going to find strategies is at the case-solving community meeting. So definitely recommend that you go, that you talk to people, and make sure that you're, if you're coming up empty, that you're trying out the strategies that the collective mind has to offer. So if you're coming up empty, talk to people, reach out to people. You can also try to gather more information if you can either get in touch with the person who submitted the case or with the unhoused individual. But here's what not to do. What not to do is spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes searching, try one phone number, find out that it doesn't work, and say, well, I guess I did my best, and then close the case. It can oftentimes take a few more tries and a bit more searching and leaving a voicemail and waiting for a call back. But as we said in the beginning of this video, we're actually offering you as the volunteer direct responsibility for the outcome of this person's relationship. And that means something. That means that you as the volunteer, if you take a case, should really make a good faith effort to try more than one number, more than 20 minutes of searching, to really try to break through the puzzle that can sometimes turn out to be a little hard, but a lot of fun. So that's searching.
Miracle Messages also relies on organizations that serve people experiencing homelessness to work with us as referral partners. These organizations come to us from all across the country and refer people experiencing homelessness to our services. These organizations might be shelters or soup kitchens. They could be also corporate groups of employee volunteering, or it could be working with city government, local government, any service provider that might have volunteers or caseworkers or social workers or hospital staff that could be connected with a person experiencing homelessness or in touch with a person experiencing homelessness, who's able to offer our family reunification services or our phone buddy program to them, would be eligible to be a referral partner. And in order to refer a case to us for our reunion services, the individual who represents the organization can just go to 1-800-MISS-YOU.org or miraclemessages.org/1-800-MISS-YOU. And this is our one-stop shop online referral page. So you can see here at the very top of the page, some of our partners are able to download materials for individuals to sign up, paper sign-up forms if needed, recruitment flyers for volunteers, for individuals experiencing homelessness, and other documentation here. And they can also call 1-800-MISS-YOU if easier, or print out a paper version of the form below. But this is the online referral form. And volunteers, caseworkers, social workers, anyone that might be coming from a partner organization can read the short script here if they've heard of Miracle Messages or Miracle Friends and might be interested in reconnecting to a loved one or getting matched with a volunteer friend in our Phone Buddy program. And then if the person's interested, they can simply say yes here or no for the friend program, and then here's for the reunion service, and fill out a nice online form. Shouldn't take more than about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on which program you select, with information that we need in order to help reconnect a person with their loved ones or match them with a volunteer friend. In the reunion service, it's very important to circle back with the individual who recorded the message, whether it's a caseworker, social worker, outreach worker, or volunteer, just to double check some of the information that we collect, make sure that it's accurate, see if there's any details they forgot to include, and just make them part of the process for the case solving. They're the individual who has been in touch with a person experiencing homelessness. Aside from that person themselves, they probably are the most vested in the successful outcome of that case, if it's a reunion or making sure that person gets matched with a volunteer for Miracle Friends. So one step is just to be aware of these online referrals coming in from our referral partners, and then to circle back and be in touch because those referral partners do a lot of good and make it so that we can offer these services all around the country and even all around the world.
So, a lot of folks just are not comfortable making phone calls, calling strangers. Like, do you have to work in sales to do digital detective work? No, you don't. But you do have to have a little bit of gumption, a little bit of, pizzazz and willingness to put yourself out there. And frankly, have people say, no, not interested, don't call back, no thank you. As just mentioned, it's a double opt-in service. So when I make phone calls, and certainly not as much as our digital detective community, but when I make a call, usually we'll just, introduce myself. Hi, my name's Kevin. I was wondering, is so-and-so available? And just start there. And you don't have to give this whole long-winded thing. I'd like to speak to, Janice. Who's calling? Well, my name's Kevin. I'm with Miracle Messages. And then from there, if you get the person on the line or they ask for more details, that's where I'll say, I've met Henry. He said that he wanted to reconnect to his family member, Janice. I'm wanting to touch base with you to see if Henry is your brother and would you want to reconnect with him for a phone call or touch base. This could be very overwhelming to people. This is, in some cases, someone who they haven't seen in years, if not decades. And in my experience, there's four possibilities. There's wrong number, hang up, don't get a hold of them, basically keep going. And then it's like, okay, I found the right person. Well, scenario one is, oh my God, I've been looking for him for years. I search for him every night on Google. I can't believe it. Yes, of course I want to reconnect. In those cases, it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to be thrilled to hear from you, right? As long as you can get the information across. You don't want to have a scenario where you call, say, hi, I'm Kevin from Miracle Messages. They hang up, and then you're like, oh, they rejected the reunion, right? That is not, you need to make sure you reach the right person or someone who's close to them and they actively understand what's going on. They make an informed consent not to participate. Scenario two is they say, I don't want anything to do with this person. This is bad person, we have bad blood, there's things they've done, we have a restraining order, we're angry with them, bridges are burned, they're a total loser, we don't want anything, I don't care. In those cases, there's also nothing you can say that's going to lead them to want to open up, right? They know their relationships better than we do. And all we can do is honor what's true for them, what their wants are, and make sure we clarify that this person isn't necessarily calling to go live with them again, right? De-escalate the expectations. Maybe it's just this person called and they wanted to say, I love you, I miss you, I'm sorry. They have a message that they'd like to share with you. And you can share that message. Maybe, hey, can I share this message with you? Can I send you this information? Then you can decide if you don't want to. I try to push it a little bit just to try to get that message to that person. Still doesn't mean they're going to accept it if they've reacted like that, but at least try to get the message to them so they know why the person, not just who, but why. I think that's important. The third is kind of the murky middle, where the person's like, oh, wow, it's been a long time. I didn't know if they were still alive. And you can hear the hemming and hawing, and they may need time. They may say, I just need some time to think about this. This is a lot to process. There's a lot of backstory here. And they didn't outright say no, but you also hear in the tone of their voice. Imagine you heard that your long-lost brother or your mom or your best friend is reaching out to you. I'd be elated, assuming I'm thinking of the people that I'm thinking of. If it's someone that you're not that excited about, well, you may need some time, and they may choose not to reconnect, but they just don't want to say it on the spot, or they want to think about it. Or maybe they want to write a letter to the person, or record their own video or photo, or convey a message. Please tell them I wish them nothing but the best, etc. In any of these cases, it's really just giving the person the opportunity, meeting them where they're at as our core value, and making sure we also do that with our unhoused neighbor. So if they wanted to say, I love you, I miss you, one thing that helps people decide is making sure that you have a chance to give them the message that that person has. Say, hey, I know it's a lot of information, it's a lot to take. Let me, can I send you an email? Can I text you something? Can I, whatever, can I read this to you? Just so you have what this person wanted to say, and then you can take all the time you need to sit on it. And I'll leave it to you to tell me, and maybe I'll call back in a week or leave it to you. And if I don't hear from you in a week, I'll follow up just so I can either close out the case or relay your message back to the person or facilitate a phone call. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable to call people, but remember at the end of the day, you're not trying to sell them the newest vacuum cleaner. You're helping someone potentially have their life transformed, reconnecting to someone that they love, they miss, they want to reconnect with. And if it's not the right reconnection, a lot of the time the people are appreciative of what we've done. They may say it's not appropriate for us, you don't, whatever, but thank you for doing what you're doing. And that's where we really try to take, and when I do outreach, we are an organization, a nonprofit that helps people who are experiencing homelessness reconnect to their loved ones, rebuild support. This is what we do. We've reunited over 500 families. Sorry, it's not appropriate for you. You understand your relationships better. And that kind of little bit of validation is really important. The last thing I'll just mention is I personally choose not to lead with the fact that the person's homeless, because when you say something like that, it conjures all sorts of understandings of where that person's at, why they're calling, what they want. There's a kind of guilt, right? If you knew a distant relative or a loved one is homeless, there's a huge range from living in transitional houses to being on the streets under a bridge. And whether it's someone who's just down on their luck or have a severe alcohol substance dependency. So what I try to say is it's a message from this person. They want to do it. If they ask, are they okay? Yes, they're okay. Are they homeless? We're an organization that serves people specifically experiencing homelessness. But I'd love to just share that message with you. And if they ask directly, I'll share it, but I won't lead with it often because I know that could create misaligned understandings of why the person's reaching out. And just as a final note, when a person records a message to reconnect, it's always on the understanding that they're asking to say, I love you, I miss you, I'm sorry, I want you back in my life. It's never with the expectation at the gate of going to live with the person or any demands. And if there is anything where it's I just want to go live with them, or I need money, they owe me money, we really work to make sure that that person has other reasons to want to reconnect. Otherwise, we don't do the reunion. So that's a helpful context, hopefully.
I personally, I'm not someone who's comfortable making cold calls. And I can say that the only reason that I got comfortable doing case solving work is because I saw the impact. I actually got to see people reconnect. I got to see people say, I feel like I have my life back again. I saw people go home. I saw people have their hope restored. And that allowed me to get over that initial anxiety, and it made me feel like I could pick up the phone and do this work, which is hard work. So, if you're at the stage right now where you say, I wish that I was more comfortable with this, but I'm not really, we understand if it's not for you, but we also encourage you to go and look at some of the reconnection stories that Miracle Messages has done and think about whether you'd be able to pick up the phone if it could change someone's life. And, the other thing that I have only reflected on since I started doing this work is what would I want someone to do if I didn't know how to find my mom and she approached somebody at a train station and said, I want to reconnect with my daughter? What would I want that person to do? And frankly, I would want that person to make every phone call that they could figure out how to make until they reached me. And if they rang 5 wrong numbers, I would hope that they would call the 6th number, because that's my mother. So, if that's any indication of, how I would feel, if that's an indication of like how other people might feel, I choose to project that onto them. And I approach this work the way that I would hope that somebody would do it if it was me and my mother who had been disconnected.
Yeah. You may, if you're making phone calls, hear everything from elation to gratitude to closure to annoyance. The good news is you'll hear a lot more elation and gratitude and closure than annoyance, but there will be some annoyance. But the truth is, if you don't go through the annoyance and the 1 out of every 10, 1 out of whatever the number is, you can't have those just transformative opportunities. And it may not be elation, homecoming, we're now best friends living together again. It may simply be, I've always wondered what happened to them. I'm so glad to know. I couldn't imagine going to bed at night not knowing where my brother is or where my best friend. And just knowing that the person's out there, that brings so much joy and gratitude to people. So you're doing a good thing. We're there to support you. You're not alone. And we have wonderful search tools that you'll have access to even get to the place of making phone calls, from white pages to using people, Facebook, of course, Google searches. All of that you'll learn more about in the case solving community and the boot camps. But just know right now, you're doing a really good thing and you're not alone. We're here to support you to help more of our unhoused neighbors reconnect to their loved ones.
The best way to learn about case solving is not to listen to our voices on a video, but to join us. Really and truly, we can talk until we're blue in the faces about how this is done, but the way to learn about it is to do it, and to do it in community with other people, so that when you feel nervous or you're not sure what the right thing is to do, you have a community of people who will help guide you to the right step.